Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Anfield Wrap. Liverpool Football Club are top of the Premier League with only 7 matches to play, and with a Champions League quarter-final tie against Porto to come. April and May could very well be some of the most enormous months in the club's modern history. To get excited about all of that, I am Dan Austin, and with me are Jay McKenna, Lizzi Doyle, Paul Senior and Rob Gutmann. It might still be nearly a week away, but we're going to be looking forward to the Tottenham Hotspur match at Anfield on Sunday. We're also going to be having a chat about the upcoming return of Joe Gomez and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, the form of Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, and a bit more chat about the title, because we can't really get away from that now, can we? The show is, as ever, in association with RedsBet. They're a bookmaker with a twist in the half of their profits, that is to say your losing bets, are donated to fan causes. So if you already gamble, maybe consider doing it with them, but please do make sure to gamble in a safe and responsible manner. Now, Rob, what did you do with your free weekend from the international break?
I got out of town, mate. There's no point being in Liverpool for the footy. No, that's not true. I definitely didn't watch any Legends games, and I didn't watch any international football.
Fair enough.
I thought about I had a big think about the title race, Dan.
Did you?
I do that most days.
Paul, did you do anything nice?
Yeah, I did Chester Zoo away. The 2 days.
Brilliant away day. That 2 days?
2 days, yeah. So
no dates. Yeah. No date trips for Paul doing these away.
No, you've got to do it properly.
I can't believe you've treated Chester Zoo like a European away.
10 minutes from ours, but why not?
What did you kip over?
So we went and did one side of the zoo one day, and then we went and did the islands bit on the second day. Belter, had a good time.
Jay, do anything nice for you?
No, I didn't think about footy as much as possible, really. I did see Paul putting on Instagram as Chester Zoo away. Didn't realise it was a 2-day. I just thought, he's subjecting himself to it for a day, but here's Paul Senior doing 2 days in Chester Zoo.
Why not? There's a lot to see.
Lizzie, do you enjoy the break?
What's that?
Do you enjoy the break without the Reds, or do you find it hard going?
I did find it hard going. I went to watch some non-league football. I went to watch City Liverpool.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was decent.
He went viral this weekend, didn't he, with the halfway line from Calculair?
Unreal, the first goal they scored, but it was a dead interesting game. They were 1-0 up and then 2-1 down, and then they come back to win 3-2 with a pen. So the shed, as it's called, went off. And that sort of cured a little bit of an itch, but Sunday I was just twiddling my thumbs again.
Well, better than England versus the Czech Republic.
I definitely did not watch. I watched 10 minutes of Scotland, and then it turned off again. And I think I put that posh antique show with Fiona Bruce.
Question time.
Sort of like that.
We've got to talk about the international break a bit, because as much as none of us have really got an interest in what the nations are getting up to, lots of Liverpool players are involved. Quick breakdown on it: the likes of Gini Wijnaldum, Virgil van Dijk and Ben Woodburn were all on the score sheet for their respective national teams. No one so far has come back with an injury or has been mentioned as having taken a knock. There are obviously still games to go. England is still playing. So Dejan Lovren's got some minutes under his belt. Jordan Henderson's played a full match for England as well on a little return. Paul, I think very little happening. No one coming back with a knock, and a few players getting a bit of rhythm back into them is pretty much the best that you can ask for as a Liverpool supporter from an international break.
That's the dream, isn't it? An international break you don't really know about because nothing happened and no one got injured. And obviously the two Dutch lads got goals. It's mad the way they always seem to score for Holland. I know obviously Van Dijk's been scoring a bit recently, but Wijnaldum's on fire for Holland, but never for us. So yeah, I'm happy with that. No injuries. I'm coming back to what looks like a pretty much full squad.
I've been enjoying Mo Salah's international break on Instagram.
He's done it right, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a bounty advert. It's just
Barbados away or something.
It's well better than the fucking zoo, isn't it?
Yeah. He had it off there. See Paul Senior at the zoo the next in Barbados, the next international break, as Mo's going around the chimpanzee enclosure, can't you?
He hasn't seen a sea lion show, though.
No, well, that's it. Maybe
Who's the real winner?
Well, that's, I always got one foot ahead.
I made up that Mo had a proper holiday. Do you know what I mean? I thought, don't make him play behind closed doors, crappy fixtures against Reading reserves or something. Just to have a proper rest and come back better than ever.
I think they all done that, didn't they? Milner did it. I know Milner had tweeted he'd been in Dubai for a week. They've given themselves some rest, really? And I think, and even the players who've gone and played football, I've got minutes, as you say, as Lovren, and I think they'll have gotten something out of it. I'd imagine Van Dijk's one of them. He doesn't do sitting on a beach. He's like, let me go and play football. Yeah. Wijnaldum's in a run of form that you want him to keep playing football as much as possible. You don't want to break that up. But I think as Paul said there, I think I'm genuinely looking forward to the idea that they've all, in a way, and we've had it as fans. I think we've probably been a bit lucky with the title talk of. We've had sort of little breaks along the way, Munich and then international breaks, and Champions League football and then another international break where it's also, and no FA Cup and the like, where it just stopped us getting a bit too carried away. So everyone just took a bit of a, you know, a breath, and then we go back now obviously to a huge game and, you know, big week for us with City having 2 games. So I think, you know, that might be good for the players as well. I think that, you know, those who've gone and concentrated on international footballers, or the others who've just gone and sat off on a beach for a week, you know, they'll come back refreshed and thinking of Liverpool then, and that's it then for the rest of the season. It's us and them.
Sort of hope like Salah was walking past a couple of palm trees and the coconuts dropped down and he just put it between two of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He just found that little holiday goal.
Turns off to celebrate and no one. He's thinking, where are you?
Slotted one in at the near post of the palm tree.
That's it.
Lallana's been swimming with pigs.
That's not a sentence I expected to hear.
I didn't know whether that was like a description of something else that occurred, an analogy or a metaphor.
No, Lallana's genuinely.
Is that a thing
swimming?
that people do? Like swimming with dolphins?
Dances with wolves.
Isn't it in the Caribbean somewhere, isn't it? You
There's
can
just
swim with
pigs swimming in the water, and Lallana's been swimming with.
Why would you?
He hasn't like gone to Crosby Bats and like people let like rice lake.
I was going to say,
I did there. Real Sun Centre was reopening.
Listeners from Real have just switched off in their droves.
Well, Lizzie, a few of the other ones that should have been playing international footy have stayed at home and not swam with pigs because they had the black injuries. So yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson went and played against San Marino, but I think that's pretty much a rest as far as you can get one in an actual game of footy.
Got a hat-trick.
Xherdan Shaqiri stays off from Switzerland duty as well. It should have done them players, maybe not Shaqiri so much, but certainly the 2 fullbacks to have had at least a bit of a rest in Robertson's case. Good, because they will be playing, apart from the game that Robertson is bound for, every single game between now and the end of the season, all being well.
He can't miss another game other than that. First, like Robertson, ideally anyway. The break for him is good. I also think the break for Naby is good. You know, Naby hasn't played. I think he picked up a little bit of an injury which saw him out of the Bayern squad. And yet, I think the players who have had a little break will do them good. And even the ones that I think I spoke about Salah last week, wondering actually whether playing for him would have been better, just because of this mad narrative around the fact that he's not scored and his head being all over the place. And I just thought, you know, if whoever he's playing, if he gets a goal, even if it's international, well, that just, I don't know, change his mindset a little bit. I thought that could have potentially done him some good, but definitely Trent and Robertson, with the amount of work that they have to do for the side, I think that's only going to do them good staying here, having a nice little cup of tea.
I'm hoping Sadio, he played the other night for Senegal on a pitch he was actively moaning about, but they think Senegal have got a game Tuesday, and I'm hoping he's got nothing to do with it. I think it's a friendly. I think the international managers have got to be sensible on this now. It seems certainly from the ones that have pulled out, like Klopp has been having a word either with the international managers or the players anyway, so I'm sure if that is a friendly, they'll be clever about it in some regard. Paul, 2019's been fairly disjointed so far. There's been loads of gaps, partly because we haven't been involved in the FA Cup since basically the year began, partly because there's just been sort of natural gaps in the season where we had to break before the first Munich game and stuff like that. They went on 2 training camps across sort of January, February time, and they came back and the results weren't so positive. Some supporters were not so happy about that because they thought, well, you know, if you're going on this break and having a rest, why aren't you better when you come back? Klopp was saying it's all about the long term and this will have a positive effect in April, if not, you know, the last week of January. Do you think that this break, and it is the final break before the end of the season now, do you think that will have done them good? I certainly thought that a couple of them looked a bit leggy at Craven Cottage. Yeah, certainly. I in the Allianz Arena as well, I've seen very, very tired lads. Like I was almost certain Wijnaldum wouldn't start at Fulham, and then he did. So you go and, okay, these lads do need a break, and obviously some of them have gone and played proper international football, and for some reason they seem to enjoy it. But yeah, I'm hoping that the break has served them well. As you said, a lot of them seem to have had, the ones not involved seem to have had a nice time, but I think now with no gap, it's important that we can just get rhythm from day one against Tottenham, put in a good performance, get 3 points at the weekend, and then just let momentum take us through and hopefully bring 2 cups home. Rob, some players are going to be coming back as well. Before the international break, Klopp gave a little update on both Joe Gomez and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I want to talk about Gomez first. Yeah. The quote from him from Klopp just before the break and all the players went off was, we expect him to be back after the international break in full training, and then we see how long it takes.
It's safe to say he'll be cautious bringing him back because he's been out for so long and he has an injury history. Even if this one is an impact injury and it's kind of separate from them, he won't be rushing him in, partly because he wants to do right by the player and not make sure that it's too soon, but also because in the grand scheme of things, Joel Matip has performed quite steadfastly in his absence.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I'm just trying to calculate. I think it's about 12-week, 3-month injury.
It's the beginning of December, late November, isn't it?
Yeah, the Burnley game, he drops out on. So, you know, it ended up being something of a fracture, didn't it? So, but they'll know whether it's 100% healed or not, and whether he can go full throttle. It's not so long out that if he has like a behind closed doors practice game or whatever. The only problem with defenders is you can't drop them in for 2 games for 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're either starting them or you're not, and it's hard to see where Klopp takes that kind of risk. He doesn't, for example, he might look really good in training this week, but he can't just drop him in against Tottenham. So if you can't drop him in against Tottenham, then does he just drop him in at Southampton? All these games are too big at the moment. So it is a tricky one for the manager, and the players probably has to be patient. As you said, does Joel Matip deserve to be dropped? He's done well, but I have to say, I've now watched Joel Matip for 2.5 years, and he's not as good as Joe Gomez. The Joe Gomez I've seen in the last, specifically the last 6 months, but over his course of his Liverpool career. So you feel that we did lose something when we lost Gomez. In fact, there's no doubt about it. We were defensively that bit more complete with Gomez in the team. But Klopp is going to have to be bold to decide whether or not he brings him back in.
Makes me wonder whether his drop back in to get him minutes, if that's absolutely needed, whether he might even do it at right back, where he doesn't break up that centre-half partnership and just tries to get some minutes in his legs, even if it's just a little 25-minute sub-appearance.
Do you think he does that Sunday though? Or do you think he's more likely
No, not necessarily Sunday, maybe Southampton. Yeah. I'd like to think if we could take a lead in something that maybe he can come and get him some match minutes at right back or something.
Yeah, I think I think Tottenham he doesn't do it because
it's too big.
Even if you were 3-0 up against Tottenham with 20 minutes to go, you'd be worried, they get a goal and they'd put a bit of pressure on and stuff.
Especially
like that.
Especially now Lovren's fit as well.
But I think Southampton, my thoughts would be you try and give players minutes there, because that's where you'll maybe give Van Dijk 20 minutes. You're not sub Matip, you sub Van Dijk, you give him 20 minutes, because I think the mistake we made in 13-14 is when games were won, we didn't take off key players and give them 10-15 minute rests. And I think Klopp does that a bit more with Mane and Firmino and stuff like that. But and Salah has added to him, but not so much lately because he's trying to give him as many minutes to score. But I think you do that with players. You don't want it. You'd hate to see 88th minute you're 3-0 up against Southampton and Van Dijk jumps for the head and goes down on his ankle kind of thing. So that's where you'd like to give, I think, 20 minutes, and that's where he might get an opportunity, I think.
Joel Matip has done well, Lizzie, and it's important to remember that Lovren is on his way back, and it's really not that long ago at all. He was playing in a European Cup final and a World Cup final, and no one's questioning him. He was in the form of his life.
He told us that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And you know what? Everyone bought it. Everyone was fine with him.
Best in the world.
But I think we're all very aware that Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez is the long term. That's what we are hoping to see at the start of next season. It's what we're hoping to see in 5 seasons' time. It would be very nice, wouldn't it, if they could finish this campaign playing together rather than having to wait until next August to get a run together again.
It would be nice, but I am a bit cautious of like Paul said, breaking up the centre-half partnership. And I know you can rely on Gomez, but he has been out for a long time. He's still got to get match fit. And I would love nothing more than to see Gomez and Van Dijk as the long-term Liverpool partnership, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And I had this argument with Andy Heaton. He said that he's had a lot of impact injuries rather than being hampered by the same injury, which is a good point. But there's been 2 big injuries now with Joe Gomez, and okay, the different injuries, and he's bounced back and he's been great. He really is a great player, and I'm hoping that this is sort of the end of it. But I don't know if you can rely on them. I don't know if you can rely on Joe Gomez fully, because of that reason. But I would love nothing more to see them as the long term thing. But the end of this season, in this run-in, we've got 7 games left in the league. Is that right? 7 games. I think the right answer for me would probably be to slot him in at right back. I agree with Paul, because obviously Trent's got a little bit of a niggle with his back injury, and I don't think you need to rest Matip as such. I think you take Matip out after playing quite well. And what does that do for his confidence in the running? Going, actually, I don't believe in you. I'm going to put this lad back in, which might be the right decision because I think he's the better centre half. But what does it do to a player like Matip who goes, hold on a sec, I've been playing really well. Why are you dropping me?
Paul, it's testament to the progress that has been made over the last sort of 18 months in that position that we're looking at any of the four of them now and going, yeah, I'm all right with that. And even if Fabinho ends up getting put there for whatever reason at any point, you're saying, yeah, that's all right, he'll be good there. Compare that to where we were December 2017 time, before Virgil van Dijk comes in, and, you know, it was panic stations. We had 3 centre-halves. Ragnar Klavan was getting regular games. We didn't have one on the bench. The level of change in that position, I think, is probably... It's probably the biggest improvement I've seen in a position for Liverpool Football Club in that shorter space of time since I've been watching football.
I think it's obviously aided by the fact you can buy the most expensive one of them ever, and the difference he's made. That I suppose the big test is the day that it's ever a prolonged period without Van Dijk, and that's one thing we're, you know, fortunate enough never to have gone through, and I never ever want to go through it. But I don't mind. I don't
Paul's
mind.
like imagining really dark moments of his life.
Oh, honestly, I'd be crying.
Happy Monday.
Crying in showers and stuff. No, the thought of that isn't obviously a nice one, but I think we're at a place now where we've got confidence in the individuals again, where that previously as a collective we just didn't have. We didn't have it. So I think Lovren and Matip, by the time we'd signed Van Dijk, we'd sort of had enough of that partnership. But I think it's something we could probably now live with for a short period if we had to. The upside of that is that we all feel Joe Gomez could potentially be one of the best centre-halves in the world. So now when we're talking about a potential Van Dijk missing, we can go, well, it's Gomez and one of Lovren and Matip. And I think that's a good thing. But I don't want to see that in the next 10 games.
I think we saw enough with Gomez. I think, as you said, he could be one of the best in the world. I think he was a considerable level above Matip and Lovren for me. Although Matip in particular has done well, Lovren's had been disrupted through injury. I've noticed without Gomez, we don't have a lot. Gomez actually does something which Carragher did for us for years. He throws himself on grenades. He's absolutely unbelievable like that. I mean, he did it early in the season against Leicester, I think it was, where he did an incredible block. He does it in the derby where he gets one off the line, and there's several other examples. Matip and Lovren just do not do that. Van Dijk doesn't need to do that, but you need one lad who will do it. I think Stefan Oncho did it once upon a time for us. Carragher did it incredibly. Gomez has all the attributes, but he has that. He's a warrior. And I think there's going to be some big moments here, and I wonder if we don't need to just take a risk on Joe Gomez. I look back to the game, the Etihad over Christmas, and I don't think we let that goal in if Joe Gomez is in the side. I think he's more concentrated than Dejan Lovren, for example, and I think there's one or two other key goals on the way I think we might not have conceded with him in the side. I
think just between now and the end of May, you've just got to get your best 11 lads on the pitch, and you know whether he's 95% fit, then fine. I wouldn't be worrying about Joel Matip's mentality. I think in football clubs it's known that there's a pecking order, and as well as he's done, he's been a sort of I think he needs to be commended on how well he's served as a deputy, but he is a deputy. It's Joe Gomez's deputy now. Joe Gomez has earned the right to be there. Just because some yard dog from Burnley breaks his leg or whatever doesn't mean that he shouldn't be back in the team when he's fit and firing, but only when he's fully fit.
We're going to talk about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. According to various journalists on the Liverpool FC patch, including David Lynch from The Standard, he also will be due back in full training once the whole group is back following the international break, and his long-term knee problem. He's been out for almost a year. Obviously, everyone's going to be delighted to have him back. People have been talking about him all season as some sort of missing link, even though Liverpool have been playing very well. But Jay, I think it's very optimistic to think that he'll have a genuine effect on this season between now and the end, because there's just so little of it left.
Yeah, I think slightly contrast to say Gomez, who you would like to see back in the team because you'd like to see him playing, and his injury is very different. If you see Oxlade-Chamberlain, or a big call for Oxlade-Chamberlain from the fans, because you'll see that when he's on the bench, you know, the reaction he's going to get when he gets 10 minutes is going to be, you know, ridiculous almost. I think it shows that we're desperate rather than that, you know, it's controlled and it's managed and stuff like that. We'll be looking for Lovren. We'll be looking for Oxlade-Chamberlain. You know, if we really desperately need a goal, it's a bit like they're not the same player, but it's a bit like bringing Aspas on in that Chelsea game, isn't it? That you're throwing every attacking player on the pitch to try and make something happen. And I'd hate to, you know, I think, you know, you'll get cameos from. I think the length of the season might be that if you get to Madrid, you might be in the Champions League semi-final second, like you're thinking Chamberlain, and then he's an impact player from the bench in a final. But given his injury, back being in full strain is very different, than playing football. And I suspect he will get minutes at some point. He'll be in or around the squad because it'll be a big boost. To have a Chamberlain on the bench, he'll be on the bench in a game where you're thinking you've got to win, whether it's Chelsea or someone like that. That if literally you're thinking, right, can we just put 7 or 8 attacking players on the pitch here and see what happens? You might do that, but I just don't think we're going to see Oxlade-Chamberlain playing regularly for Liverpool or planned in the next few weeks.
I think I've got to sort of slightly contradict myself on what I've last said. I want us to see our best 11 players on the pitch, but I also want to see them on the pitch next season, and I think we can only play him when he's absolutely ready, and I think Jay's absolutely right. I think if there's big calls for him, things are going wrong, because this team should be able to beat everyone it faces between now and the end of the season, especially domestically. So I'd be worried if there was a real clamour for Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think we've got to just ease him back in, and don't get me wrong, if he hits the ground running, he's performing great, and he should be commended for getting back to this point and actually being available this season. So I'd like to see him get minutes, but I don't want him to be minutes as an absolute necessity.
And I think one of the difficulty for Chamberlain is that the clamour is not just for him, but what he did in the team prior to him, got being injured. They getting the ball in midfield, turning, driving with it, playing a pass or taking a shot kind of thing. We're missing that in midfield, and I think people might have looked at Lallana's form in the last couple of games and think he can do some of that. We've all wanted Keita to have done that, and he's not. I think we'll be thinking to ourselves, and if we're really honest, we're seeking that from somebody rather than it just being Chamberlain. I think he's very good at doing it, but I think to expect him to come back into the Liverpool team and deliver that would be really unfair on him, and really, and just unrealistic as well.
Rob, his shadow was being cast over the season in a sense, in that as soon as it was mentioned sort of towards the end of last summer that he could be back this season, because first of all we thought he was missing the entire campaign, but ever since it's been a possibility that he'll get minutes this year, whenever there's been a performance where Liverpool's midfield hasn't been totally on it, or it's felt like there needed to be more of a link between the midfield and attack, people bring him up and they start talking about him, wondering when he's going to be back. I think the most that we've missed him since he's been out though was in the European Cup final. We only had 3 midfielders to choose from there. He'd played so well in the campaign coming up to it. I think this season, yes, it obviously would have been nice to have him. It's a shame that the form he was on wasn't able to be capitalised on either as part of a World Cup team for England in the summer or once this campaign got underway with Liverpool. But it's nice to not feel like you desperately need him, because since that final where we were missing him terribly, we've signed an extra 3 midfielders, Fabinho, Keita and Shaqiri. Adam Lallana's back in the fold from a position where you thought he might have even left last summer, never mind this summer. It's good to be in a position where he feels like if he comes back at this stage, he's a bonus. We're not sat there all crying out for him, thinking we need him to get over the line here. We've got other players that can play, not in exactly the same way, but a similar role with a similar level of effectiveness.
Yeah, it's quite hard, actually, I think, to get Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's importance into perspective. He went from being the perennial flop signing after 3 months. We now know Klopp knows better than all of us in this respect. We've seen the same with Fabinho, and I'm sure we will with Keita as well. Just to within 2 or 3 months becoming a very important player in the team. But he reached a high level in some big games. The goals against City in the league and the European Cup sort of exalted his reputation. But the day he went out of our season against Roma, I was gutted for the player, but I didn't think we had been derailed then. Of course, it would have been nice to have him, and you think about the European Cup final and go, God, if we'd had Salah and Chamberlain for the entirety of that game, it might have been different. But I didn't fear going into this season without him, and I wasn't even that upset that we hadn't replaced him in someone like Fekir. But the problem has been, as you and I were speaking before the show, is that it's not, well, we've hinted at, it's not so much Chamberlain, is that those who might have fulfilled the role haven't done so yet. You can go Lallana, Shaqiri, Keita. Any one of them could show between now and the season and make you Alex Who, quite frankly. So Chamberlain now comes into the mix as the lad we remember most fondly, but we don't know if he can do it because he's been injured or not. I'm not sure if he might not yet have something to contribute. The test, well, we don't know what they've seen in training. I reading between the lines, listening between the lines, the enthusiasm over his comeback. Klopp's been barely able to restrain himself. He's been going, wow, the things he's all but gone, wow, the things he's doing. I think I could play him tomorrow. And all bit there's a little bit of element of tongue-in-cheek about it. I'm not sure that the player is a little bit readier than we realise. Of course, there's going to be a gap between how ready he is in his head and how his body's prepared to respond. But if the two can coalesce, we'll see. Something big could happen.
My thing on that though is as the amateur footballer that we all might be when you play footy with your mates, you watch him in his Instagram clips and you watch him in training and you're like, he's on grass there, he's kicking a ball.
How hard can it be?
What's he on about? He needs a bit of time, but it's just a level. And it's being able to do it well for him. I think that there was a few comments in the game he played 40 odd minutes, didn't he, against Derby?
Yeah.
Was that the game largely passed him by because even at that level, it's the fine margins. That's what we see from an Oxalde-Chamberlain. That's what Liverpool need as players. We don't need a person on the pitch. We need a player that is on their game. And I think it'd be, in a midfield, particularly we play a 3 now. We've gone back to playing a 3. It's one less body in there, and you look at our Milner. Fabinho, Wijnaldum have played, they're on their game. You wouldn't want to take that risk. I'd like to see him get 10 minutes here and there and build this thing back up because, as I say, I think he might have something to contribute in the latter stages of a Champions League. But I think in the league, particularly as pressure might tell, you're going to need every single player. Certainly if your front 5, 6 on it.
There might be an adrenaline game in him, though. You know what I mean?
Well, what I think there is, but I think that's like, it's Barcelona away.
Yeah,
in the
last
second
half
leg of the Champions. Last half an hour, it's 1-1 and you need a goal and you're like, right, well, you know what? Come on, we're going to put Chamberlain on. That player's injured. We've got to play him. I think you get half an hour out of him there and he's like, I can do 45 minutes in a Champions League final. What I signed, we're going to keep you for the last half an hour of a Champions League final as well, make them possibly extra time. I think you get that out of him. I just think to expect them to come in and do it in a league where we're going to have, I think Gomez can do it. I don't think we will, but I think Gomez can because you'll get 20 minutes out of him, 30 minutes out of him, and where he's got to be on his game the rest of the time. Liverpool are going to have the ball, so he's going to be fine. I think for Chamberlain, he's going to be a lot more involved, and it'll take a lot more out of him.
I think the fixtures we're playing, and they're going to be such elite level as well between now and the end of the season. So much riding on it, especially in the European Cup where they are, knockout. I think you've got to have someone who can fully trust his body and know what he's capable of as well. And I think we've seen this with lads coming back in the past. I remember the conversations we had on these shows about Daniel Sturridge in the past. And not quite knowing whether he had that sprint in him or whatnot. I don't want us to bring him back and be at the detriment of Liverpool, quite frankly. That he comes on and he shies away from that run or whatnot. Liverpool have got 7 games left in the league, a couple of games left in the Champions League to go and potentially win both of them. I think we've got to have lads who are absolutely ready to play and be as capable as all the others.
I think you look at as well, so Shaqiri has been missing for a while and you wonder if this injury that is being picked up or the reason why he's not playing, if that's been an underlying thing and that's why Klopp's not been playing him. And Shaqiri was hitting form, so you've got Shaqiri, you've got Naby Keita who's got the bit of a niggle of an injury. So if he's not, if it's down to literally the fact that he doesn't want to play them, but if he's not playing them because of that, it makes you think, well, why would he risk Oxlade-Chamberlain? I think the fans are willing him back, and rightfully so, but I don't think we'd be having this conversation if the likes of Shaqiri, Lallana, Keita would have stepped up to that role the way that we'd hoped in certain games to produce certain results. I think we haven't really thought about Oxlade-Chamberlain until these players that we've sort of relied on and thought could do a job haven't really been doing it as well as maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain done last season. And I think we shouldn't pin our hopes on him, but I think I'm excited for him to come back just to see him back because it was so unlucky the way that he finished that season in the way that he did. I don't see Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back and winning us the league. I just see Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back and thinking to myself, isn't it great that he's worked himself to this point.
Rob, lastly on this before we move on, I'm still very interested to see where Xherdan Shaqiri fits in all this sort of midfield chat. He didn't go to international duty with Switzerland, as we mentioned earlier. I think the lack of 4-2-3-1 being played has done for him a bit since the turn of the year, but we all know the positive effect that he was having in the first half of the campaign. And I still feel like, I'm not sure where it comes, I'm not sure how he gets to the game, but I still feel like he's got one big moment in him between now and the end of the season. Yeah,
I think we may come to see that we actually played him out of form. He was his best performances were all cameos from the bench, and it earned him starts, and the starts didn't suit him really, I don't think. Has he got one big moment in it? Yes, although it's a little bit worrying when a manager begins to not turn to you at all. And there've been occasions recently where you thought, why not? Why is he missing the opportunity to put Xherdan in? We're forgetting the squad's a lot fitter now. This is the fittest the squad has been. We've now got options. Keita's going to be fit the other side of the break. Shaqiri himself will be fit. Lallana looks like he can do a job every time. As we said, Chamberlain's available. There's nothing wrong with Wijnaldum, Henderson, Milner, Fabinho. Every fucker in midfield is available. So yes, he may have a big game in him, but it's a positive sign of the times that he may not get the chance.
Despite the international break, there was a match going on at Anfield over the weekend. Liverpool legends beat AC Milan by 3-2. Sean Welch and Andy Heaton went down. They had a chat to some of the Liverpool players in the mix zone afterwards. Here they are with a few clips from them.
So, Jamie, back against Milan after all this time. See how fuming you were when it went 2-2, or was that just me?
No, I was fuming. Yeah, I wasn't happy. I thought might have threw it away, as obviously they did in Istanbul, if you like. But no, listen, I always think in those games it's nice when both teams get on the score sheet. It makes an exciting game, and the crowd want to see goals. But of course, being at Anfield, we want to make sure Liverpool get the win. And probably written, wasn't it, for Stevie to get the winner at the Kop end?
Well, we were just saying that before. If anyone was going to get it, it'd be him, and then in front of a full house for a fantastic foundation event that's raised loads of money. What a day! Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, brilliant! I mean, it's just great to go out to, at Anfield. But as I said, you're always mindful of the fact that you don't want the game to not be a good game. People come, lots of young kids there. You want to see goals at either end, and as I said, the main thing is we raise a few quid. And I think what the foundation do, and lots of individual players who are in the game. Obviously now the funds generated in the game through the Premier League and different things. I think it's so important that as a club and individuals you give a little bit back, and that's what today's about.
It certainly looked competitive. There was a moment there on 52 minutes when I thought you were going to go steaming in and then pulled out at the last minute.
Well, I caught a few. I keep getting told by the lads that Inzaghi's not too happy with me because I caught him in the face in the first half, but that's probably par for the course in a game against Liverpool and Milan.
Finally, 2 questions. First off, loads of talk about centre-half yourself, loads of talk about Virgil van Dijk. Do you think he's the best centre-half in Europe at the minute?
I do actually, yeah. I think the performance he's given this year, I think he's been the best player in the Premier League. I'll be surprised if he doesn't win PFA Player of the Year. And I think when he first signed, maybe raised eyebrows the amount, but I mean, if someone offers you double now, you probably wouldn't take it. That's how good he's been. And delighted he's got him. And as I said, he's in a great age, and centre backs we know go on a little bit longer. So hopefully we'll see him for the next decade.
Final question, and the big one, when it's so tight in the Premier League, are you still back at Liverpool for the title?
Oh, of course, yeah. I think Liverpool are in a great position. City also. I don't think there's too much in. Obviously, City in pole position. You'd have to make City favourites with them. We were doing it last season. But I think if Liverpool can get through the next 3 or 4 games and still in the same position, I think they've got a great chance.
I think the tempo of the game was quite good, and I can see that there were some younger players on the field as well, and that they haven't stopped playing 7-8 years ago. But I keep myself fit, that I can eat and drink whatever I want, and it doesn't show. So that's my motivation. I don't exercise for anything anymore, but sport was a big part of my life, and I can't be without it. But I must say that it was a tough game. I think it's a long time that I played in that kind of tempo. But I'm alright.
Yeah, and this season, Van Dijk played very good, the defending performance, and a lot of people said, okay, maybe lots of people remind me and compare you become him between him as well.
I think I would be as good as him if I was quicker. So.
Good to be back at Anfield today, still doing it?
Yeah, great mate, yeah, it's really good.
Becoming a big name in the punditry scene, showed you still got a few tricks up your sleeve on the football pitch as well.
No, it was good to be back out there, it was obviously good to see the fans having a good day, and obviously it's nice to see some of the old lads, so yeah, it's good to be back.
And you know what it's like to be playing on the big stage for England and for Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold doing it as well now. What do you make of him?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I just said to the guy down there, obviously he's got great potential, and it's exciting what he can become. He's got plenty of time on his side.
And what do you think about Liverpool's chance of winning the league this season? Rate them highly?
Yeah, of course. It's going to be tough to beat City, as we all know, but I do think City will drop points, so hopefully Liverpool won't at the same time.
I love to score goals, so even for fun and for an important game, or even for a good cause like the foundation, it's always good for me to score goals. Always.
Nice to be back at Anfield today and for a good cause as well.
It was hard.
Tell tough, yeah. I saw you try and point a tackle at one point and then pull out of it, but was that a result of the game?
It's just, when you're not playing football anymore and you don't do it every day, you only do it once a year. It's your body don't want the same thing as your head, and that's the problem.
You know what it's like to be a top centre half for Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk obviously pulling up a lot of trees for Liverpool this season as well. What have you made of him at Liverpool so far?
He was definitely something Liverpool needed. I've been screaming about for a few years. A good leader, a good footballer, strong character. So he's definitely been important. But I think a few players has. There's been a lot of good performances.
And hopefully a league title to celebrate at the end of it. What do you make of Liverpool's chances?
If you asked me a few weeks ago, I'll definitely say I was sure we'd do it, but
you still say you're sure now.
I think it's more 50-50. I watched a few of City games and they look strong. They look really strong. But we all hope.
Thanks to Sean and to Andy for that. We're back now in the studio talking about the Tottenham game. And Lizzie, I think first and foremost, it's nice to have a big one to come back to after a break like that. The atmosphere was great against Bournemouth and Watford. Really good again against Burnley. I think it could go up a notch this weekend. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be booming. And I know we keep saying each game is a cup final as such, but this, to me, even with Chelsea at home, if you're looking at it, if you zoom out and look at the games left, this is the biggest game of the league left. And to play Spurs at home, I think Spurs as well, we can get them at a time where they're very inconsistent at the minute, and I think you don't know which Spurs side is going to turn up. And they've been hit with a couple of injuries recently, and they're trying to they've gone from fighting for the league to scrambling for top four now, and I do think Spurs will get top four, but all of a sudden their narrative has changed this season, and I think if we get one early, I think we can undo them. I really do, and I can't wait for this game. I really, really cannot wait for this game.
Paul, the reverse fixture at Wembley ends 2-1, but it's not a fair reflection of the game at all. I don't think we totally control that against them. Completely held them at arm's length in a way that I think is rare to see. Certainly between two teams that at that point are sort of at the same level and both fighting for the title. It felt like a moment early on in the season where we really set a marker down and showed that we're a seriously good football team and better than Tottenham.
Yeah, very, very much so. It was one of the games I think I would say I enjoyed most this season in terms of not necessarily the day or even the fixture, just in terms of where we placed ourselves among the pecking order in the Premier League. And it was a statement, because Tottenham have been second or third for the last I don't know how long, and they've had this thing where they finished above Liverpool for I don't know how many seasons.
It's every year since 2010, apart from last year or something stupid 13, like that.
14 or something. Yeah. So the so for me it was important firstly to overhaul them, because obviously we finished fourth last season, but now obviously we've been thrown into a title race. And we're ahead of them. I think again this weekend I would like to just see Liverpool's dominance. Obviously I want the result as much as anything, but it'd be nice to see that like Tottenham have had a dip, and I'd like to see Liverpool really go forward and go for the throat and just show that how far we've come in such a short space of time.
Jay, the game last season at Anfield was a very irritating one in that I think again Liverpool were the better team, but it ends up as a 2-2 draw. There's a very, very late equaliser for Tottenham after we think we've won it. There's a couple of controversial goals. They get 2 penalties. Regardless of the fact that Liverpool are in a title challenge, regardless of the fact that they absolutely desperately need these 3 points, I think our players and our manager are absolutely desperate to right that wrong.
Yeah, you'd expect them to say, look what happened last time. I'd expect Klopp to be saying, it's not just about the moment, the league, where we're at. It's saying, and sending a message. This is saying, look what they done last time. Use that as a bit of inspiration. Don't apply pressure of, City have won, City are playing this week, City are playing at the weekend. Before, don't apply any of that. This is your chance to go back out and show them lads who you should have got 3 points over last season, that you can get 3 points over them. You're more than good enough. You're better than these. Go out there and show it. That you'd hope is it. I think, and I'd hope we have that kind of message or mentality, because I think this game is, the magnitude of it can't be underestimated. I think for lots of people. I think it's very easy for us to think, well, they're a big 6 rival, and a point's not the worst, a 2-2 draw's not the worst, but it's the timing of this game. It's when it comes. It's the start of a run-in. You want to start that all guns blazing, and I'd hope that's in the players' minds a bit going to be, you know, a bit of, oh yeah, Man City, you think you think you've gone past us now. Watch this. Here's a statement. We're going to go and do this. And then City have got to play Tottenham then. So I want City to be able to. We've got to match that. I want City to be thinking we've got to match this.
It's like sudden death, isn't it? Where it's our game versus Tottenham versus their game versus Tottenham. We'll be looking to their game versus Tottenham where they can't win. You know, we need something from Tottenham. We need someone to stop. I'd say the Man United or Tottenham that you're really pinning your hopes for. So we have to deliver on our part. So we have to win, and then hope that Tottenham can do something in terms of giving us a favour.
You can't talk anymore about let's take the pressure off the players. The pressure is on. This is it. This is, as you said, it's shit or bust time now. City are likely to have beaten Fulham the day before, I think.
12:30 Saturday, Fulham.
Yeah, so they're likely to have done that. They're likely to be a point ahead, equal games. And if we draw, however honourable it feels on the day or unlucky, it'll effectively have given them a 3-point lead, and we will feel majorly like we will feel like we've blown it. The truth of the matter is that that's the point where we'll have to dust ourselves down if that happens and calm our nerves and go, well, hang on a second, we have got one of these hard ones out of the way. That's not to say that winning it, you can go above your par. Your par on this. City are looking at this game and thinking this is one Liverpool could drop points.
I got a taste of the feeling of dropping points for 9 minutes against Fulham, and it was a dark place. I don't want to step back into that again. We need to just keep winning, especially this one at home. You know, for all the points I've just made. But I think the pressure might be good, especially on the back of this international break, that you've got to deliver. You've got to go and get a result. Yeah,
well, I got them the wrong way around. City obviously don't play this week because it's the international, but they've had to squeeze that Cardiff game in now, haven't they, next week? Yeah. So it's that thing of Liverpool going now your turn, City. Go on now your turn. So we beat Tottenham, you've got to beat these. But not only have you got to beat these, you've got to win in midweek. You know, we drew at Old Trafford, and we've got disappointments about that game. But it's like, well, go on, you've got to go and play them. Balls in your court now, City. And I think Robertson said something about this, didn't he? Saying, well, now that we're chasing, maybe it's slightly different. And I do think there's stories to still be told and questions still to be asked of all teams. Liverpool have got a big question on Sunday, but I think if Liverpool answer that well, it's a hell of a question for Man City going into that week after.
I think as well, the fact that, I know it might seem stupid, the fact that they're still in the FA Cup, because what Guardiola is asking of his team is something that a team has never done before, winning the quadruple. And believe me, he will be hammering home to those players that he wants all four. And I think, we look at them as a bit of, not rivals, but obviously we're in contention with them in the league. It's a good thing that they're still in the FA Cup, get as many minutes under their legs as possible. And like you said, it's just the mentality thing of, oh, we've got another game and another game. And it's just they don't get a break. None of their players will get a break because they will be constantly thinking, oh, what have I got next? Oh, it's a Champions League, then it's the FA Cup, then it's the league, but then it's back to the FA Cup. And he will be heaping the pressure on them. We think Liverpool players will have pressure on them, but I don't think it'll be anything compared to what Guardiola's putting on that City team.
Rob, Spurs have won just 2 of 8 matches against the top 6 in the Premier League so far this season. They've got 2 to come, away at City and away at Liverpool. They're also winless in the last 4 since they beat Leicester on February the 10th, which feels like a lifetime ago by now.
Really, they haven't won any.
Yeah, haven't won any since then. Form dictates, as much as we, Spurs are a big club and they're only 1 point behind us or 2 points behind us in the table going into it. Form dictates Liverpool win this game.
It does dictate Liverpool win the game. It might also, though, a worry? I don't know. It'll dictate, I think, that Pochettino is a touch more cautious than he might naturally be. He might go, I just don't want to get beaten. Normally, I think on form, Tottenham go to Pochettino's Tottenham, a fairly fearless outfit. They go to Anfield, regardless of whether they should or not, and think we can win this. I wonder if they go, we're going to be a lot cagier this time. That 10 yards less deep, and that might make it not entirely the kind of game we want.
Paul, ostensibly, we obviously think of Tottenham as top opposition, but we've only lost against them once since 2012, and it was that 4-1 at Wembley in 2017 where Dejan Lovren has the worst game of his life, and it feels like the house of cards has fallen down around. Yet aside from that, we've got a relatively good record against them. Do you think that because of some of the things that Rob's mentioned there, they always think that they can have a go, they always feel like they can go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, they play a high line, they've got self-confidence going forward? Do you think that we suit playing against them in that sense?
I think we suit playing the bigger clubs a lot of the time, especially the ones that are a bit more front foot. And Tottenham have been very much that, and I sort of take your point, Rob, what you're saying about them maybe having to change the game and at the point not being too bad. I think that's always a hard sell. I don't know how you tell Harry Kane that we're gonna play 2 banks of 4 and you're not going to get much service today. We want you tracking back in the way that Bayern Munich set up, for example. That being said, I think we'll if it's a real battle, Liverpool will have that extra gate because they want it more. You know, I don't think Champions League football is a bigger motivation as potentially being league champions. So I'm just hoping that if Liverpool do have to dig deep, they'll dig deeper than Tottenham.
There is also their biggest matches are now in the Champions League, aren't they?
Very much so.
If you're, that is it Barcelona? They've got Barcelona, haven't they?
No. City.
Oh, sorry,
they play City 3 times in a week.
They've got City, yeah. If you're saving your body for anything, those are the biggest games of your career as a Tottenham player.
Especially now they're going into the new ground, and they had the test match there yesterday. And there's a lot of there's a bit of a story for Tottenham now. Is to go and deliver the Champions League football, but also have these magical nights at the new ground.
But sorry, Jay. Spurs are only a point ahead of Arsenal. Arsenal are in 4th on 60.
4 points ahead of Chelsea in 6th. They're very, very close to just getting fucked off out of that top four very quickly.
Yeah, United are on 58 points as well, and United, they're on a decent run. They're playing well, and they've got to fight for those points. So they're going to be coming to this, and do you know what? They will want to upset Liverpool's title chances. They will, because probably the majority of teams coming to Liverpool will be doing the same. And I don't think you can underestimate them at the same time, because I think the likes of, you look at Heung-Min Son, the way he's been playing this season, and I think with Harry Kane being back, the two of them link up absolutely brilliantly. The two of them together, when they're firing, they are firing, and they are formidable. And that's when you sort of start going, oh God, Joel Matip, coming up against one of them. But you've just got to have faith in these lads. They've done it before, they can do it again. I think they are the better team, but they haven't half got some players, and we just need to be sort of wary of Tottenham, because I think you said they're the best attacking side that we'll probably come up against other than City, and I completely agree with that.
Well, Paul, that's the thing, isn't it? Even if we continue in the European Cup and get to the semis and play either Barcelona or Manchester United, and then whoever in a final, this is probably the biggest test our defence is going to have, I think, between now and the end of the season, because you lash all those players in together. They had a very poor result against Southampton, but Harry Kane and Dele Alli combined brilliantly for their goal. You lash in Christian Eriksen, Son Heung-min, I think, is the best player. There's a potential for a Lucas Moura or someone as well. This is the one where, we've got an excellent defence, we've got the best defence in the league, but this is the one where it's going to be tested more than certainly in any other league game.
You're playing, in my opinion, the best number 9 in Europe. And that's always going to be a thing. I remember the goal he scored at Anfield a couple of years ago where when there's nothing in it, and it's just a moment
one
of
chance in it.
One chance goal, and that's all Harry Kane needs. And obviously they've got dead ball scenarios with Eriksen, you've got Son, you've got the other fella who just mentioned him, it doesn't matter, Dele Alli, the talented footballers basically. But the thing is, they're coming against equally and more talented footballers in Liverpool, and I think we should have too much for them this weekend. But it is as hard a game as you can possibly hope for. It's a harder game than Chelsea, I would say. I'm very wary of it, but I fancy us.
Jay, Mauricio Pochettino will be sat in the main stand using the Wi-Fi to WhatsApp down his messages, or
let's hope Liverpool do what the Wi-Fi's like for everybody else, i.e. crap.
Well, he might actually
Don't give him the password to the club Wi-Fi.
He might actually have a Bluetooth headset, because it seems to me that banned football managers are the only people on the planet that are still using Bluetooth headsets. The entire industry relies on those two groups of people for a living.
Absolutely. You still see them and you're like, mate, seriously? And then you remember, obviously, taxis don't have them fit.
But do you think the fact that he's not on the touchline, do you think the fact that he's up there, does that make a difference? I always find it hard to read anything.
I think at this level, no. I think these are elite level footballers. You go onto the pitch, how many times do we see Klopp stood on the touchline screaming at a player and you're like, mate, he can't hear you. I can hear you, but he can't hear you, or he's blanking you. So Pochettino being stood on the touchline is not going to do any of that. He's going to get all his messages. I think it'll make a difference if the game goes away from them quickly. So if Liverpool made a fast start, I think it's very hard for a manager who's not there on the touchline speaking to his players, having that little word and saying what's gone on there, and they're saying, oh, they've done this to us. I think he'll see it, but getting that message out quickly, if Liverpool race to a 2-0 lead, stops us doing he can't react quick enough to stop it being 3-0. So you'll see it that way, but I think by and large, I'm expecting a really difficult game, to be fair. Because I think Liverpool will have lots of pressure on themselves. I said that before about trying to remove some of it, because I think, we have to win this game. We have to send that statement, and I think, Spurs will know that. they're going to come and play football. They're not playing for a draw. They're going to be passing out from goal kicks and stuff like that. They're going to be inviting us on, trying to create space, because that's how they play football. So, you know, they'll think to themselves, they'll back themselves to get goals. They'll want to go into, you know, a Champions League with a bit of confidence. So I think we've got to, you know, be ready to respond to that. I think Pochettino's going to have them set up there to say, you can go and win at Anfield.
Sadio Mane, Rob, in particular, has got a very good record of causing Tottenham problems. Not necessarily scoring goals, but occupying them an awful lot and making things easy for those around him. He's on 11 and 11. More than anyone, I think they're going to be terrified of him going into this.
Yeah, I mean, he's our 4-man at the moment, and it's a good place for us to be in, that they've got to decide who they prioritise, Sadio Mane or Mo Salah. They've also got to think about our fullbacks. It's interesting. It's an interesting. It's not a test to Sadio Mane. He's taken himself to a level now whereby the only place above it is world top 3. Quite frankly, he's playing like a European top 10 player at the moment. Then you go back 6 months. You know, those of us who were shouting that Sadio Mane was world class were going, he's not quite that level. I think he is world class, and I think he's the player who could decide the game on Sunday.
Lizzie, Mohamed Salah's best ever goal for Liverpool was scored in this fixture last year, in my opinion.
I was going to say debatable, isn't it? Apparently the other one's better.
It's so good though, it's incredible, and it's such a shame that goal doesn't win a match. He hasn't scored in 7 matches. It's his longest run without getting one for Liverpool. Is this the one where he turns it on and it all happens for him?
He's been turning it on in other ways though. Like, I don't buy into this, and I think the more we talk about it, probably the more frustrated he's going to get. I'd hope. I
reckon he's listening to this on the plane back.
Is he listening? Yeah,
underneath the coconut tree.
Did she not see that goal I scored with that coconut?
Fucking hell.
He's a big fan.
Listen, Gail, that assist in Munich. Get over it.
He's been right in the Anfield draft in the sand in Caribbean. I really do hope this is the game where he scores. But as long as other people are doing the business, I don't really mind. Like, if he plays a good game and doesn't score, for me, that's absolutely fine. But he is open, he does score, and I think once he does, he all of a sudden, I think, will go on his own little run then, and I think that's what we all want to see. But at the end of the day, the most important thing with this game is not that Mo Salah scores, it's that we get 3 points. And I think that I'm not saying that he won't have that mentality, but he needs to have that mentality as well, because for someone like him who's such a prolific goal scorer, who's desperate to score, you know, there will be situations where he could be in on goal, but there's a better option to his left or to his right, and he needs to make sure that he is thinking of the 3 points and not Mo Salah getting a goal. And I know that sounds harsh, but I really do hope he bags one, as we all do, but I don't think that's the most important thing about this game.
It's all eyes on Mane for me, is what I was going to say. You know, if Salah chips in, fantastic, but he's currently our main man, and as I think you're right in saying, I think Tottenham will be keeping an eye very firmly placed on him. But if Salah if they can have a little goal of the season competition together, then I'm game for that as well.
But I think Mane's benefited from people doubling up, particularly earlier in the season, doubling up on Salah, paying him lots of attention, gives him a bit more space. I think Salah can possibly benefit from this, and whatever we say about Mane, his current form and stuff like that, if you had to say to me now, right, the ball falls to one person in the box, they've got to take a first time shot to score, I'm Salah's main person. I just think it's not good. That doesn't go on forever. Whatever the form is, if the ball's going to fall to someone in the box, I want Salah to have that shot. I just think and I think that's still his thing, possibly for Tottenham for us.
Rob, just before we go, we've mentioned City's next two in the league are Fulham and Cardiff City. They're not going to falter in those two. They're going to drop points between now and the end of the season, but I don't think it's coming in either of those two games. Liverpool simply have to keep pace by beating both Tottenham and Southampton. And this Tottenham game now, we can't understate it. I think this is one of, if not the biggest league games that I've witnessed in my lifetime.
Shit.
No pressure, Adolf. You said before.
You felt for the hairs on the back of my neck there, Dan. I think they're going to fuck up against Fulham. I've just got this hunch. Yeah. I'm not going to make myself watch it this time. I've watched so many City games recently. I fucking hate watching City. I think, we definitely have to take at least 4 points out of Tottenham and Southampton. It will feel like the end of the world if we don't win both. And we're all going to have a big, long chat with ourselves, and go, they can still throw this away, because as I said earlier, that we will have got... Actually, Tottenham home's a tough game left. Southampton away's not a gimme.
Friday night.
No, it's not a gimme. So, whereas for them, Fulham away, Cardiff home are. So, in terms of the par results, 6 points is the par. For us against Spurs and Southampton, I'd say 4's the par. If we get over that, I'd say we're in rude health. And I'd say we edge ahead of them as favourites if we get 6.
Right, that's about all we've got time for this week's Anfield Wrap. Thank you very much to Rob, to Jay, to Paul and to Lizzie for joining me. Thank you to you for listening. As we mentioned before, this is one of the biggest periods in Liverpool's modern history. If you don't already, make sure to go to theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe. Loads of podcasts, loads of videos on the YouTube channel will be coming out this week, all about the games coming up, all about the Champions League ties as well in the offing. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. Spend it dreaming of a League and European Cup double. That's what I'm going to do. All the best. Have a good one.